Hello, welcome to my channel. And I wanted to share this story around grief. Doing the work that I do and being a medium means helping people work through the loss of loved ones. And grief is really a form of, well, it's loss, right? But it can come in many forms. And I'm going to share my version of what loss can be like when it's not actually a person. Um, so it could be the loss of a job, it could be the loss of a home, it could be the loss of a community. And so my husband and I, shortly after we were married, he got transferred through his work to Winnipeg. And it's kind of funny because we were living in Saskatchewan at the time, and we were hoping to either stay in Saskatchewan, possibly go to Alberta, but Manitoba was really ideally our last choice. But guess what? That's where we ended up going. And so he told me that's okay. It's just temporary, head office is in Saskatoon. I can transfer back. But that temporary turned into 17 years and three babies. So we had three girls that were all born in Manitoba. And so it starts to become home, right? When you live somewhere for that long, let me just think now, almost half and half, not quite, it was short a few years of living half my life in Saskatchewan, half my life in Manitoba. And so it starts to become home. Um, you know, the friends that you make there become more like your family. And the town that we lived in just outside of Winnipeg was just such an amazing community, a great size, had everything we needed, but really was only 15 minutes outside the city. So if there was anything you needed in the city, it was easy to get to. The schools that our daughters were attending were amazing. The neighbors we had were great. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but I really did, love the life that we had there. And so one day my husband got off the phone and he said, "Do you want to move?" And I knew who he was talking to and I knew where he meant moving back to. And I was like, no, definitely not. Because in my mind, I had said to him, because the plan was to transfer back. And of course, he left that company and we did a few other things. But he was now currently working as a branch manager for a credit union. And he was just ready to have a change. And so in my mind, when our oldest daughter was to start high school, I just didn't think that was fair to move her. And it was literally summer. I think this was July of her starting high school in the fall. So anyway, we kind of talked about it and I said no, like definitely not moving. And he didn't say anything to me. He didn't disagree. He didn't argue. He just, was just kind of quiet. And I thought, okay, we're good. Like I shut that conversation down. And that weekend we went and spent some time with some friends and, kind of mentioned, that there was this opportunity. His brother wanted him to buy into his contracting company and become a partner. And they just looked scared. And I said, "Oh, it's okay. Like we're not moving." But my husband didn't answer. He didn't say anything. And I thought, we are not on the same page. So we get through the weekend. It's fine. That following Monday, I got together with another friend of mine from another town that we lived in Manitoba. And we were only 20 minutes apart, but we hadn't seen each other in over a year. And I said to her, we need to get together. So I said, let's get the kids together. Let's just spend a day at the beach. Let's catch up and let the kids have a play or whatever. And so I was telling her about this. And she said to me, and she knew that, he was ready for a change and that, he wasn't loving his job at the credit union anymore. And she just said, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want you to move. But this sounds like a really great opportunity for your husband. And I just felt this weird energy. It was almost like I felt like I was splitting open. And, I had tears, I think, streaming down my cheeks, and I knew she was right. And so I literally went home and said to him, like, you really want to do this, don't you? And he said, yeah, I do. So, was this divinely guided? I do believe it was truly. And, what's really funny is, like, he did try asking me again the next day after he kind of presented the idea to me. He said, so do you want to move? And I was like, no, I don't want to move. So I kind of shut it down 2 times. But after this conversation with her, I said, okay, so you really want to do this? And he said, yeah, I do. And that was it. Like, after that, I cried probably for 2 weeks straight. Like, I mean, not constantly, but, one of us would say the town or Saskatchewan or something about moving, and I'd be like, why is my face wet? So one day, I don't know, this was probably a week or two in, or several days, I don't know, I can't really remember the time frame. But my eyes started leaking, and he just put his hand on my arm and he said, are you going to be okay? And it made me go within, and I thought, what is this? Like, why am I crying? And I realized it was grief. Because we had already left our hometown. We had left all of our friends, everything we knew, all of our family, to move to Manitoba, which is like 10 hours away. So I'd been through this. Not quite on this level, because when I left the first time, I didn't know, right? You just think, oh, it's no big deal. But over, that period of time, you lose connection with those people. I mean, you still have email, Facebook, all the things, but whenever we would come back to visit, there was only so much time. We would actually go back home exhausted after a vacation because we wanted to see people, others wanted to see us. Like, we would spend our time running around visiting, and it was exhausting, especially when we had 3 little kids once that happened. So, from there, I realized, okay, I'm grieving. I'm grieving the loss of the community. I'm grieving the loss of all our close friends. Even though, those friendships that mean a lot, will always be, but it's not the same. It's not the same as living in that community and going to the grocery store and running into someone saying, hey, why don't you come over for a drink later? Like, these were our people. I loved these people. And so everything happened actually quite quickly, because this was probably July. There was a house that the company was building, which was just a spec house that was now going to be our home. Luckily, I was able to make some changes to it, because it was not a home that I would have built for us, but I was able to make some changes, add a pantry, make the front closet bigger for a family of 5, that kind of thing. We did finish the basement. And but all of that said, it was really a really big change. And so what I didn't realize was, so we moved, so as I said, it was quick. So July to my husband and the kids moved, I think, October 1st. So they still had to go to school in September, but I didn't want them to miss too much of the school year in the other province, because not everything totally lines up, even though the curriculums are similar. Just didn't want them to feel too out of the loop and like they've missed too much, or to try and get caught up. So the house was not going to be ready till mid-November. So I stayed back, kind of finished things up. I mean, I had clients and was teaching classes and that kind of thing in Manitoba. So I wasn't ready to leave. So I said I would stay back and kind of prepare things. But honestly, I was grieving. I didn't pack anything up, hardly. I just went into this dark, not really dark, but I was grieving. I was very sad. And I just kind of went into this place of coping, I guess. And they all left on October 1st. And then our house was ready by mid-November. And then that's when we officially all moved into the house as a family. And so, that was it. We're now living back in my hometown, where we both grew up. My husband grew up outside of town on a farm. And anytime, so I continued to come back to Manitoba because that's where my clients were and that's where I taught a lot of classes, and I had a business partner at the time. And so we would just, every spring and fall, we would go back. And, it was, so this is how grief works. You don't know when it's going to hit. You might be filling up your gas at a gas station and a song comes on. Sometimes they have speakers outside, music playing, right? A song might trigger something, or you might see something that triggers something, and there's no controlling it. And so, and you just don't know, like, you don't know when it's going to happen. And there were numerous times when I was back in Manitoba. We were there actually as a family, and I could hear someone calling my name. We were in Walmart, and it was like, oh, she was somebody that I met through the classes we taught and stuff, just a very, very dear friend. And but I didn't know whose voice it was because she was kind of singing my name, because she had run into my husband. And I go, and as soon as I saw her, that was it, Waterworks. And it's embarrassing because I am a blubbering mess, like crying so hard, because these are my people. These are the people I left. And it's a reminder that I don't get to see them anymore, um, on a regular basis, right? And so I'm just crying my eyes out, and I can't hold it back. I can't stop it. It's embarrassing. Like, and I'm like, I just, oh my gosh, I just miss you. And how are you? And I'm trying to talk through tears and barely able to talk. Like, honestly, like, just like blowing my nose, like, so bad. And so I think that was kind of my first experience. And then there was another time where I was out with a few friends, and we'd gone out for supper, and we were in a restaurant, and somebody there looked familiar to me, but I was just like, I saw so many people doing the work that I do that I was just like, oh, it was probably just somebody who was at an event or whatever. But she comes up to me and she says, Janine, and I was like, yeah. And I'm trying to remember where I know her from. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And she's asking about the kids. And I'm like, okay, it's something to do with the kids. And we also when we were in Manitoba, we lived in Winnipeg for 5 years. And then we moved to another small town 20 minutes north of Winnipeg. Well, actually, it's a city. It's a 10,000 people. We lived there for 7 years. And then we lived in the other smaller town outside of Winnipeg for 5. So, you meet a lot of people too through your kids and activities and all of those things in all of those years, and attending, well, two different schools, because when we were in Winnipeg, they were not in school yet. And so I couldn't remember this woman at all. Like, I was trying to bring it back in my memory, and I'm just like, where do I know her from? And like, I'm pretending as she's talking to me, and I'm just like, how are you? And like, I'm trying to like bring it back, and I couldn't. We ended the conversation. She hugged me, and she's like, it's so good to see you again. And I said the same, and like, I don't even know if she knew that I didn't know who she was. And so we walked away, and my friend said, who was that? And I just lost it again. I lost it, and I just started crying, and I said, I'm starting to forget. And then it came back, and I remembered that our daughters were really good friends. Actually, I know this is terrible, but I think I was very overwhelmed at times having 3 kids and like running 3 businesses. And I actually had forgotten that our kids, or 2 of my kids, actually had sleepovers there a fair amount. She had a son that was autistic, and she had another daughter that was born with, I think, cerebral palsy. And so it was just easier for her to have our kids come and stay there, our 2 youngest. But I had forgotten about this family. Like, that's how much had been on my plate. So I was like, oh my gosh. So again, in the parking lot, like having a full on meltdown, bawling my eyes out. They're trying to console me, and I'm like, this is so terrible. Like, and they were like such good people, such good people. Our girls have great memories there. And so, again, like, and it happened again in Walmart, again, in a different Walmart in Winnipeg. I ran into another friend, and same thing. And she's just looking at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just grieving. And I said, I just miss all of my people, and yeah, we're doing okay. And like, but I really miss it here. And so of course she hugged me. And again, it's so embarrassing. Like, I was just like, what on earth? And then it happened again. And then, so this other, incident, now I'm just drawing a blank. So I'll just keep talking for a second. But, yeah, it just, oh, yeah. So when it strikes, like, you just have no control over it, and you don't know what's going to set you off. So I was back in town, doing some business, and was getting together with a friend. And again, like, I was coming in on the highway, and it hit me. Like, this was the road that I took home all the time. Like, this was my road home. And I started to cry, and I thought, nope, we can't do this right now. Because I'm literally going for dinner with her to a restaurant. And so I managed to pull myself together and, like, not right now, we can do this later. And I get there and I'm fine and it's all good. And we're sitting outside on the patio and the sun is shining, and I all of a sudden I heard, is that Hannah's mom? And I look, and here it's my oldest daughter, all of her best friends. In fact, one of them was like, when we moved to this small town, they met the first day and they were like this, inseparable. And it was her. And I honestly, I my heart went out to her, because I knew my daughter was going to be okay, because she was moving to a new town and going to meet a whole bunch new people. But when your best friend leaves, like, there's no replacement. It's an emptiness. It's a void that you can't replace, right? Because she's in amongst her peers, there's nobody new. And someone that she was very close to just left. And so that was it. Like, I started crying, but thankfully I had my sunglasses on, and it's kind of almost like a cartoon. Like, the tears were like welling up underneath the sunglasses, and kind of holding the tears in. And I was talking to these girls. They had no idea I was crying. I was kind of like masking it and holding it back, because I just didn't want to do that. I was so happy to see them all, and, again, missing them. And so, so we kind of ended the conversation there, and she's like, are you gonna go see my mom and dad? And I was just like, well, I could maybe stop by. She's like, well, I texted my mom, and she said definitely stop by. And so I'm visiting with my girlfriend, who was like one of our neighbors, and she had a band concert that evening with her kids at the school. And so she said, well, why don't you go visit them, um, while I'm at the concert? And I said, I can't go like this. Like, because I knew now I was cracked open. Like, I managed to shut it down when I was on the highway, but now I'm completely cracked open. Like, I have to release this grief. And I just looked at her and I said, I don't think I can. And she said, Janine, she said, if you knew that they were down the street from you and didn't come and say hi, come and visit, like, would you be upset? And I was like, well, when you put it that way, yes. So, I'm now back in my car. So we're leaving, and I'm back in my rental car, but there's like no tissues. I didn't have any tissues on me. There's like, usually I have like napkins and stuff in the glove box, but this is a rental car, so I had nothing. And I'm bawling, and like, there's snot coming out of my nose. And I think I ended up finding some wipes in my purse or something. Um, so I show up on their doorstep and ring the doorbell, because they're expecting me now, because their daughter had texted them and said I'd be popping by, and the dad answers. And there I am standing on his doorstep again, a mess, crying my eyes out. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm just really sad. I've missed everybody. I've missed being here. And he's like, come in, come in. And of course he's so uncomfortable, and so I'm trying to pull myself together, and had a really good visit, but holy man, like, yeah. So, grief comes in many forms. I had no idea that, that could be a thing. And so I just wanted to share this story, and maybe you can pop it in the comments, maybe your forms of grief. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe it's just, not just, I'm not going to say that, but a pet, or um, maybe moving schools, or, maybe a best friend moves away and you felt that grief, that emptiness. Because I'm sure that my oldest daughter's best friend really felt that. Like, I'm sure that really affected her. To have somebody that you hang out with every single day, and they just, oh my gosh, they had so much fun. Like they were so good together. To lose that, but um, yeah, it's very interesting. And if you are missing a loved one, my heart goes out to you, because it's an adjustment. It does leave a void, and moving through that it can be a lot. I mean, I still get emotional as I speak to this, and we have been back now for 14 years. It's been that long, since we left that community, but I still miss. And it's funny because I've said, there's no going back. We actually just had friends from Manitoba staying with us last weekend, and I can't believe that I actually didn't cry, because we visited them last spring. Actually, we had gone down south, and we decided to come up through Winnipeg and visit some friends, and just sitting around their table and having everybody there. Like, I had a few moments, and it was just like, I miss this. Like, this is what got taken away, that we don't get to experience this anymore. So, and then there's all the what ifs. Like, what would our life be like if we had stayed? How our kids are living. Like, our kids live away now. Like, all of their kids are still home because the university and the schools and all the things, like, there was no need for their kids to move away. But here, things are very spread out. And so our kids live 2 hours away from us. But I've made friends here that I'm so grateful for too, and wouldn't have if we hadn't moved. So it's really bittersweet, but there's still a part of me that is like, what would our life have been like? Like, I'm sad that my kids they moved away quite quickly after school finished, actually through COVID. All three of them moved out within 4 months of each other because of school, and deciding they wanted to live in a bigger city and get away from this area, because there just is not a lot happening here. So, that is another form of grief. It's just like, I mean, your kids grow up and they move away, but I wasn't expecting them all to do it within 4 months of each other. So that was a huge change. And then we actually ended up, well, we had a big 2-story, 4-bedroom house with just the two of us. So I said, what are we doing? Like, maybe we should try living at the lake. And we rented out our house for a little bit and did a test drive of living at the lake. And never did I think we were going to move to the lake. I mean, this was just supposed to be the lake house. So, we didn't put a full-size basement in or any of it, not really planning for the future, didn't think we would be living out here. And here we are. And I love it. But even when we first moved out here, it was so much change all at once. Like, the kids all moved out, and then we moved and we were living at the lake, so half an hour outside of the city. And I've always lived in the city, so even that was a huge change. And it's so quiet up here, especially in the winter, because most people just have lake properties. There's not really many full-time residents, so even that was an adjustment. So, you just never know what life's going to throw your way. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and no matter what, everything works out. It's what you focus on that you get more of, and it really makes you appreciate what you do have. And so I'm just grateful that you have listened to my story here today, and I hope that in some way, shape, or form that has contributed to you, maybe in some healing, maybe just acknowledging a piece that you never even realized was happening, because I didn't think you could grieve losing a community by moving, but that is exactly what I experienced. And it's still, I mean, 14 years later, I still get emotional over it. So to lose a loved one, is a pretty major thing. So, what I say in my podcast is, you are the creator of your life, and if something isn't working for you, you can change it, and you absolutely can. Maybe I'll put a link to my podcast in the show notes here, and a link to my book, You Are Not Alone. Just sharing some of the stories and the amazing experiences that I've had throughout my life. I just feel so grateful. As hard as it can be, sometimes this is life, that sometimes we're making it harder than it needs to be. And, just asking for more ease and joy in certain situations, just asking, ye shall receive, can bring so much more. So thanks for being here with me today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.